was on a plane to California. I had all the time I'd ever need. Did you even know I was looking for you? I think that I was hiding in between. How long, how long, how long did you wait for me?
What's going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV, and today we're coming to you from San Francisco, California. We're going to show you all the top things to do. There will be timestamps below in the description. First up is one of the most famous streets in San Francisco. This is Lombard Street. It goes east to west in San Francisco, and it's known for its steep one-block section with 8 hairpin turns, stretching from the Presidio East to the Embarcadero. You can drive an automobile or a motorcycle down here, but some people just like to walk around and take pictures. People do live in these cottages and homes on either side, but in between there's a bunch of flowers just growing and blossoming. From Lombard Street, we're headed down to the waterfront. Here is Pier 39. This is a popular shopping center and tourist attraction. Here you'll find many shops, restaurants, also a video arcade, people doing street performances, and of course, virtual 3D rides and an aquarium of the bay right here. The area here hasn't really changed much over history. There's still the wooden decks, the merry-go-rounds, and the ambiance and vibe that has been for many years, dating all the way back to the early 1900s. There is a quote from Mark Twain where he said the coldest winter he ever experienced was San Francisco in the summertime, and it does get quite chilly down here on Pier 39. Also, this is where you'll see the sea lions out sunbathing on the docks. Next up, what do you say we take a cruise across the Golden Gate Bridge? This iconic bridge is a symbol of San Francisco Bay Area. The Golden Gate Bridge actually started construction in 1933 and was completed in 1937. It is a suspension bridge that spans the Golden Gate area, which is the narrowest part, a 1 mile straight connecting San Francisco Bay and the Pacific Ocean. From here, what do you guys say we ride a cable car? The San Francisco cable car system is the world's last manually operated cable car system and is one of the iconic things to do while visiting San Francisco. You guys notice that red stripe up and down the hills here? This is for the cable cars. There's a total of 62 stations along the State Line, 1.4 miles long. The Powell Mason line is 1.6 miles, and the Powell Hyde line is 2.1 miles. If you want more about the history, check out the Cable Car Museum. Next up, we're headed out to Alcatraz, also known as the Rock. In its heyday, it was the ultimate maximum security prison. In 1934, the island was converted into a federal prison, and then in 1963, it did close. You can actually do an Alcatraz tour while here. Tickets for adults are around $55, seniors $50, and children are around $35. That typically includes a round-trip ferry to get out here, a self-guided audio tour of the prison, free guided tours by park rangers and staff. And from Alcatraz, we're headed to Alamo Square, where you can get very scenic views overlooking San Francisco. Some of you may recognize this from a sitcom called The Full House, so definitely bring your cameras if you want to take some iconic pictures while relaxing on the grass. All right, here we are at Alamo Square. Right here you have the Painted Ladies. And the big attraction is these Painted Ladies. They're a series of Victorian-style homes that are a variety of different colors. Does anyone care to guess how much one of those homes would sell for? And would you even want to live there with all of the attention that it gets from tourists? Let's head down to Fishermans Wharf here. It's on the northern waterfront and is one of the city's busiest tourist areas with plenty of souvenir shops, stalls selling crab and clam chowder in San Francisco sourdough bread bowls. That's a very popular thing to do out here, is eat some sourdough bread. It's actually very easy to get to Pier 39 from here because Fisherman's Wharf and Pier 39 are right next to each other, so you could probably get both of these in the same day. Although you might want to show up at different times because of different activities going on for each location. Here we are at Golden Gate Park, not to be confused with Golden Gate Bridge. Now the park is actually filled with treasures that you can explore, like these scenic meadows and lakes, important monuments, and some amazing museums can be found here, like the California Academy of Sciences, the De Young Museum, Fine Arts Museum of San Francisco, and here's where the San Francisco Botanical Garden is located. which we will be highlighting a little later on in this travel guide. Also, they do have the big Ferris wheel, as you can see. And just down the way is the Palace of Fine Arts, which is a 162-foot tall open rotunda, which is flanked on each side by large colonnades. This is right here on the San Francisco Bay, very close. Has a nice lake and a moat that goes around here. It really looks spectacular just walking around here. It's mesmerizing. It was built in 1915 for the Panama Pacific Exhibition. The good news is it's free to just walk around. I would certainly say it is worth a stop if you're in the area. Next up, we're headed up to Chinatown. This is one of the oldest and most established Chinatowns in the United States, and it is behind the iconic Dragon's Gate, which is a maze of streets, alleys, and a bunch of different food restaurants with dim sum and traditional eateries. It is one of the most densely populated neighborhoods, and you can also find several temples that you may want to check out while here. More than 100,000 people live here. You can check out Tian Hao, or you can also go to the Chinese Historical Society of America Museum. But don't show up too early because most of the shops might be closed if you show up before 12. Next up is a very interesting place people like to go called the Castro, and it is very colorful with lots of rainbows all around here. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you'll find the sidewalks do get painted, numerous bars like Twin Peaks Tavern, and you also have the lavish Castro Theater. Now let's go to another popular neighborhood. This is the intersection of Haight and Ashbury, which is popular with the hippie movement. Back in the 1960s and 70s, a lot of people were hanging out here, revolutionizing American culture as we know it today. And one of the cool things about Haight and Ashbury, it hasn't really changed much over the years, so when you're down here, you're going to feel like you're back in the 1960s or 70s because many of the buildings are still very old and classic, just how we like it, right? We're going to go check out this really cool store here called Piedmont. It's like a mix between a costume shop and a clothing store. So the reason why you want to come to Piedmont, it's actually known as the most outrageous shopping experience in all of San Francisco. And that's saying a lot because we're here in San Francisco and you know there's a lot of outrageous shopping experiences to be had here. Long story short, yes, I did get this. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Next up, we're here at the Port of San Francisco. Now, this is the premier gateway to the world. This is where San Francisco connects to everyone else. Over 100 cruise ships come in and out of here with 400,000 passengers every year, primarily at Pier 27 or Pier 35, right there on the Embarcadero. And here you'll find some shops and restaurants, as well as some unique architecture, modern and old school, from these buildings here. I mean, check out the fountain. Right here behind me, we have the California Academy of Sciences. This is a great museum. They got a planetarium inside there and lots of different things for the kids to see. Tickets range anywhere between $33 and $44 per person. Just depends on your age. Next up, we're here at the Union Station. This is the city's premier shopping and entertainment area. It's got some of the largest upscale department stores. So if you're into shopping, checking out theaters and other art galleries, definitely come out here to Union Square. You can also ride the Bart and arrive just below here. That's another thing that we're going to talk about a little later on as well. Also, if you're enjoying this travel guide so far, please consider liking the video and sharing it with your friends who are also looking to join you on your San Francisco trip. If you look right behind me, you can see Coit Tower. It is 210-foot tower up here on Telegraph Hill neighborhood. And it was actually constructed as a memorial for firefighters and was built between 1932 and 1933. Now, what do you say we do a bay cruise? On this cruise, you'll get to go under the Golden Gate Bridge and also the Bay Area Bridge, two massive bridges spanning the San Francisco Bay. Depending on the cruise, it's usually around $40 and then a little bit cheaper for kids. And it typically takes around 60 minutes. Just be aware that it does get a bit brisk and chilly out there on the San Francisco Bay, so try to bring a jacket. It's kind of a way to get Alcatraz without actually going to the island, because you can see it when you drive around the island. You just don't get to actually get off the boat. So if that's something that you're looking for, then one of these Bay Area is going to give you exactly what you're looking for. Now we're headed back to the Golden Gate Park, but this time we're going to actually talk about the Botanical Garden here. Sitting on 55 acres, there's a landscape area, and then there's just open spaces with 8,000 different types of plants. The good news is it's free for all visitors each morning between 7:30 and 9 a.m. and then also free on the second Tuesday of each month and on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. But if you show up outside those times, you will have to pay an admission cost. Oh, there are wily coyotes roaming around here. They're not really a threat to humans, but they may be a problem for your dogs if you plan to bring your animals here. For those of you who love Star Wars, here's a Yoda Fountain right here in front of the Letterman Digital and New Media Arts building. And yeah, it's just a cool place to see Yoda. Next up is going to require a bit of a drive. This is out to Napa Valley. It might take an hour or two to get here depending on the transportation, but it is considered one of the world's most famous wine growing regions. And the wine here is bottled in poetry, as they say on the sign when you arrive. Do be sure to do some wine tasting out here in this beautiful countryside. Next up, we're actually headed back down to San Francisco. This is the Ghirardelli chocolate experience. If you love chocolate, then you're definitely going to have to head over here. Aside from being an old chocolate factory here in San Francisco, it's known for hand selecting the world's finest cocoa beans and roasting them to perfection, and then it creates this really rich, flavorful chocolate. Not to mention the boxes that they come in are very decorative, so it makes for a nice gift, or you just take a box or two home with you on the plane. Have a little bit of ice cream with chocolate on it while you're here, or maybe even treat yourself to some chocolates. Next up is Chrissy Field. Now there are several beaches in San Francisco. It's not exactly known for swimming, but hanging out on the beach, basking in this friendly sun is always a good idea. There's several that you can include, like Mile Rock Beach, Mountain Lake Beach, Rodeo Beach, China Beach, so many beaches around here. But one thing I will say is I have witnessed humpback whales out in this area from this beach, jumping and hanging out right here in the San Francisco Bay underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, and I could easily see them just off the shore, and it was quite the sight right here from Chrissy Beach. Humpback whales are typically here between April and December. You can also see orcas between February and May, and gray whales from January to April. And then there's also Hyde Street Pier. This is a historical park that you can explore with a lot of maritime history. As you know, San Francisco was the premier West Coast destination, and before they built the railroad and the intercontinental highway system, ocean and sea traffic was the way to arrive on the West Coast. And a little bit of story time I got for you. The reason they're called the San Francisco 49er football team is because in 1849 they had the gold rush out here. After they found gold at Sutter's Mill in 1847, it led to a rush from Asia and even the East Coast of the United States, people coming from far and wide to settle right here in San Francisco during 1849, and most of that was happening right here. San Francisco does have an efficient metro system known as BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. Yeah, and you will notice, unlike many other cities on the West Coast, people here in San Francisco actually use the BART to get from their workplace to their house or over to Oakland or even to San Jose. So be sure to pick up a BART card and get around using this. Now here we are at Market Street. This is actually one of the main streets right here in downtown. A lot of people say don't go here because there's a homeless problem, and I'm just going to put that out there because there's going to be people in the comments who are going to say, hey, why didn't you mention that? So I'm going to mention it now. San Francisco is being plagued by a bit of a problem with people sleeping outside and going to the bathroom outside. Not trying to put down San Francisco, but that's kind of what you're going to see here in the Market Street area, but it's definitely still worth checking out. And I would say overall, Market Street has way more positives than negatives. The reason I do take the time to bring that up at the 14-minute mark into the video is because every time I make a San Francisco video, people come into the comments asking me why I didn't mention it. So I waited till the end to actually bring it up. And it's not that big of a deal, but it still is there. Now let's talk about the local food. There's obviously a lot of seafood that you're gonna have here, like the Franciscan Crab Restaurant. You can also get clam chowder in one of these sourdough bowls. That's one of my favorites, but definitely getting some of that crab, lobster, or shrimp scampi. All of that is classic San Francisco, along with the San Francisco sourdough bread. And then going to Chinatown and having some of that food from there. I got the Singapore noodles. I also got some chow mein, stir-fried beef. So here I got some Singapore noodle with pork. So many different dishes that you'll find down there in Chinatown. So you're gonna have a great diversity of international cuisine, as well as very healthy food options for those of you who are seeking more of the organic, vegan style. San Francisco has a lot of that. Along with plenty of seafood options, do try some of the Mexican food. I like the California burrito that's got French fries, beans, carne asada mixed in there. Really delicious and a very popular burrito here in California. Here we are on Columbus and Broadway. We're actually going to head back towards downtown real quick and show you the Transamerica building and another building that's also worth checking out when you come here. It's photogenic. The Transamerica Pyramid is definitely an iconic modern landmark here in San Francisco. It's 48 stories. It's a modern skyscraper and the second tallest building in San Francisco. Here we are along Columbus Street. If you look right over here, you'll see this copper building. That's actually called the Sentinel. Right behind it is the Transamerica building. That's an iconic landmark here in San Francisco. The building is actually 51 years old, completed in 1972. The copper building is a bit older. Next up, let's talk about shopping. Some of you are going to say, why would you come to San Francisco and do shopping? It's one of the most expensive cities in the country, and they wouldn't be lying about that. But you can also find some great deals, especially if you're into secondhand shopping. You're going to find these antiques here as well. But if you're into boutique shopping, you got the big money, you can do that easily. Don't worry. It's just shopping in San Francisco, bringing back some of that Bay Area charm back to wherever you're coming from can be fun. But even picking up a souvenir that says, San Francisco right on the shirt, that's something that's popular with people here. But yeah, a lot of souvenir shopping is something you will want to do, especially if it's your first time to San Francisco and maybe even your last time. Let's go check out this cable car museum. For me, the Cable Car Museum was interesting because I got a behind-the-scenes look at all the mechanics and everything that goes on. You'll see people working on these cable cars because the whole thing is still active with this system right here in San Francisco. You guys like flowers, you can come over here to the Conservatory of Flowers right here. This is in the Golden Gate Park area, and it is a greenhouse and botanical garden. So if you're a flower lover, you definitely want to come over here because they have the collection you're looking for. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Island Hopper TV from San Francisco. We will put a link at the end here to Chicago and Los Angeles, and I'll also put some links down in the description below to New York and other cities in America.